The boss is on the left. Daniel Duan is on the right. Both these players 9-2-1. And we might have a bit of a drawn-out match here between the two as green-white aggro and black-white control can take some time. A lot of interaction between the two.
Black-white deck, a fairly popular deck pre-rotation.
Well, I was a huge fan.
And the legendary angel package, so forth, I think has gotten a little bit better now that Reflector Mage is not as prevalent as it once was.
A Thraben Inspector there for the boss, along with the clue token. For Duan, it is a Forsaken Sanctuary that turn. The previous turn was a Shambling Vent. Very classic black-white control opening. Here is an energy for the boss. And here comes Thraben Inspector. The follow-up is a Smuggler's Copter, a start that we've seen quite a bit of here this weekend.
So, time to look at the removal suite here. How much is Duan trying to fight this card? 1 Dead Weight, 1 Oath of Liliana, a Declaration in Stone, a Murder, a Stasis Snare, a Ruinous Path, 3 Anguish, Unmaking, 4 Grasp of Darkness, 2 Fumigate. So making some effort here. 2 Anguish, Unmaking, 4 Grasp of Darkness, a Murder, and a Stasis Snare, a reasonable assortment of removal spells that are good against a variety of creatures and also happen to be good against Smuggler's Copter.
Tom will sacrifice a clue. He'll play a Plains, and he looks like he will attack for 1. He will not activate the Smuggler's Copter.
We've seen this before from BBD and from Brad. Not willing to play into open mana here, activate the Smuggler's Copter, and have it tagged by Grasp of Darkness or a Murder or some such.
There's a Forsaken Sanctuary. Daniel will pass the turn back over to Tom. Tom will draw. Sylvan Advocate. Green mana is a bit of an issue here for the boss. They see only green mana he has access to is the energy from Aether Hub. That is it. You can see the hand. 2 Gideons, 2 Verdurous Gearhawk. Westville Abbey is the land for the turn. Now here is Gideon. A Knight Ally on the way, perhaps. I'm curious to see if he's actually going to activate the Smuggler's Copter this go around. He will. And I think we'll have a Grasp of Darkness here in just a moment. We will. Take care of the Copter. Here's an attack for 1. Pass the turn back. Now, the reason I like this is because if he doesn't activate the Smuggler's Copter this turn, and Daniel's spell is actually Anguish Unmaking, he'll just say, okay, I'll Anguish Unmaking the Gideon. You didn't get very much from that.
Yeah, that's the flashpoint where Tom's going to trade with a good removal spell regardless, so he might as well try to get in.
So I like that play there from the boss.
Though I guess a counter-argument to that is Ross has another copy of Gideon in his hand, so it's possible that he would want to trade his Gideon for an Anguish Unmaking with a second one left over.
Sure. Here's a Gideon for Daniel.
There's another argument to leave the Smuggler's Copter back for a turn is it's much better taxing opposing Planeswalkers.
Here's a Servant of the Conduit. Fairgrounds Warden is going to come down and take care of that token. Gideon's going to plus. Here come the beatdowns on the Gideon. And pass the turn back. So that'll be Tom's turn. Daniel will untap, and he will draw here.
Three copies of Black-White Control into day number 2, for those of you curious.
Plains. Kalidas is here now. Always a very good card against creature-based decks if it gets to live. 3rd Gearhawk to draw.
So Tom's hand is total nonsense right now, but it is possible Gideon will be good enough. With the Blossoming Defense in hand, I wonder if he's contemplating an attack with the Knight token as well.
A little tough to do with 2 mana available.
Yeah, it is. It is a really risky attack here.
Looks like he's going to make an emblem here with the Gideon. Conduit. Use the energy to get 2 more energy. And now he will pass the turn back. This is pretty tough. If Duan has something like a Fumigate here, it's a heck of a turn.
Ross still has a Gideon left over, handful of cards. It's definitely bad.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It's not great, but I think Ross needs to just be casting something. His hand's just choked because he can't cast a whole lot right now. So he can theoretically rebuild from a Fumigate, and He does get the Kalitas off the battlefield, which is something. So
Swamp for the turn. 6 mana. There's Noxious Gearhulk. That'll take care of the Servant. That'll get exiled. That means the zombie's on the way here, and also Daniel will gain a little bit of life. New card, previewed by Luis Scott Vargas over at channelfireball.com. I know this one was a pretty big deal. I'm trying to still kind of figure out what the best Gearhulks are.
well, this is the type of card that's custom built for a one-of in black-white control.
Yeah.
It's all about doing this kind of stuff. Drag the game out and then win with good 2-for-1s.
See what Tom wants to do on this turn. Another hub means that he does have access to double green for a what feels like short period of time. Not a very long one.
He does have the option now of casting the Virtuous Gearhulk and loading up on Gideon if he's feeling so inclined.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like he's going a different way.
Gonna go Gearhulkin. Warden. Yeah, 5's a lot.
Yep.
It's gonna be tough. 2 is a little more like it. 2 there. All right, so 4-power creature in the Warden because of the emblem, and 4-power Inspector.
Yeah, can safely attack into that stuff.
Trying to make some inroads on the board, it feels like.
Kind of wants to get a second attacker going here to play through Kalitas triggers.
Makes sense. Gearhulk looks like it's going to block. Looks like maybe just the Inspector. All right, they'll trade. 4 damage will come across. Tom will lose the Thraben Inspector. He'll have to be exiled, so he'll take care of that. Zombie enters the battlefield. I think that's it. He'll make a knight, too. Knight ally, excuse me. Go back over to Daniel. Can he keep controlling this board is the question. This is what Black-White is all about, board control deck.
With a removal spell on something, then he can make the Kalitas larger than anything on the other side of the battlefield, and then things are looking pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But Duan's also running pretty light on resources right now.
Declaration in Stone. Murder.
Good looking turn.
Yep, I've seen worse. Zombie. Time to finish off Gideon, I imagine, along with an attack from Kalitas here. Yep. This is the power of Kalitas right here. If it lives, it is very, very good.
Dominating against creature-based decks.
Mm-hmm. The question is just if it will live or not. Force the draw there for Tom. Not sure if he wants to play it just yet. Now he will. There's Sylvan Advocate. Just got to figure out how he wants to tap for this. A little sloppy here from Tom. Now there's Gideon.
Well, this certainly does some work to slowing down the attacks on the other side. And Ross's leftovers, I believe, are 2 copies of Virtuous Gearhulk.
Yeah, he's got 2 in his hand.
So, assuming that Duan's kind of out of action right now, I mean, he's down to 2 cards in hand, I believe.
2 cards in hand, Shambling Vent amongst the lands, Kalitas plus the mana, and plenty of zombies to activate, so. Interesting spot here for sure.
I can look at both cards in hand, but one of them is Concealed Courtyard.
Okay, that's not all that exciting. Card draw in Daniel's deck?
One Sorin, and he has the Legend package. Thalia's Lancers
All right,
Plus.
gotcha. So that's the card drawing. Sometimes you see Succumb to Temptation like we did with Christopher Giuliano yesterday.
Yep.
Or Live Fast, the new Read the Bones-esque spell that generates energy. Time to get aggressive, maybe? Or that Advocate right now is a 5/6. It is not a 4/5. 4/5 when there are 6 lands on the battlefield, but there's a Gideon emblem. Concealed Courtyard will be the land and just simply pass the turn back.
Yeah, I can't imagine there is much headway to be made by an attack there on the Gideon because it has to involve getting Kalidas involved. And once Kalidas is involved, Duan has a lot of eggs in that basket right now. So
It's about the only basket there is.
Right.
I'll make another Night Ally. Fortified Village, maybe. Yes.
and if nothing's going on, he can play the Westvale Abbey game too. We've seen this come up in some of the slower matchups.
Black-White doesn't have the best of answers to that card. Kalidas will sacrifice a zombie. So now it's a 5/6. Of course, if Tom wants to go that Westvale Abbey route, the preference is to sacrifice tokens to it, not any real creatures.
He's not in any rush.
Yeah.
Right now, Duan's not up to a whole lot.
But things do change if he does find maybe Thalia's Lancers or pieces of that package.
Yeah, it does put some pressure on Tom to get the ball rolling a little bit here. But Duan's likely to have to go to, if he draws one of his big cards, it's probably only impactful over the course of several turns, and Tom has the time to adapt.
Here comes Kalidas. 5/6, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm seeing how big Daniel can actually make Kalidas if he wants to sacrifice both zombies.
We got it up to a 9/10.
Yep.
On the other side, remember there's a Gideon emblem, so 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, 15, plus a Westvale Abbey if he wants it, 17. I think there's a chance here that Tom makes a token with Westvale Abbey and puts everything in front of Kalidas. And says, just show me what you got. Against 2 cards in hand, it's just hard to believe that Duan could survive everything. Or the Kalidas, rather. Because he has to spend 6 mana total just to get it to a 9/10, and then what are you doing with the leftover cards?
Yep.
And if you're casting leftover cards, well, even if you have 2 kill spells, I think he still plays over the top here.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, just throw it all up in there and see how it washes out, I think.
I kind of like this block.
I do too.
Westvale Abbey making a white and black human cleric creature token. Tom having to lose 1 life to generate that, so he's down to 14.
Tom definitely wants to protect the Gideon in this spot. He doesn't want to be chump blocking the Kalidas because then that's generating more zombies, and that's no good.
It doesn't get you anywhere.
So now this is the third option, and based on the cards in hand, amount of mana available, number of zombies in play, this block looks pretty good to me.
Yep.
I mean, maybe Tom gets blown out by some weird mixture of cards, but you got to see it at least.
Show me what you got, basically. Which, I'm with you. I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah, just
Looks like Daniel's going to order some blockers here. And now he might have to start sacrificing some zombies. Maybe Grasp of Darkness gets involved. We'll see.
But even the Sylvan Advocate's up front, and Grasp doesn't even touch that really.
Yep.
It's a 5/6 right now, so it's still way more than enough to kill the Kalidas. If it's Grasp and sacrifice 2 zombies, and that's one of the better things you can imagine doing.
2 zombies will be sacrificed. There's Grasp. So it's down to a 1 power creature. Still going to kill it.
Yeah, Duan gets to clear out some stuff here,
Yeah.
and he's going to get the Sylvan Advocate off the battlefield.
Yep. I think he's going to kill, 2 creatures, so he'll have 2 zombies left over. But now Tom gets to start attacking.
Now it's 1 card in hand against Gideon, a better battlefield, a Westvale Abbey, a Gideon emblem.
Oh, and those
I haven't even talked about what's in the hand yet.
those Gear Hulks.
We haven't even worried about that
I
yet.
don't want you to forget about those. Might be time to turn the old corner, as they say.
I'm interested to see what Duan's follow-up is, because that attack seemed like the only thing keeping Duan in the game was the Kalidas. It also makes a lot of his draws over the long term very impactful, because every removal spell gets converted into a zombie and then more complexity on the battlefield. And now it's just some zombies against stuff that's way better than some zombies.
I think a Gear Hulk came down. Not quite sure where it went. There it is. I see it now. Some blocks. And see, here's the tough part, right? Okay, so an exchange we made, a bunch of damage is going to be dealt. If Daniel's play is Fumigate, totally fine.
Yeah, that is fine.
That's like the best thing that he can do right now to catch up, is to say, okay, I'll kill all your creatures. Doesn't really matter much when there's a Gideon out there.
And a Westvale Abbey.
Yep. Bunch of mana, Thalia's Lancers. We'll see what Daniel wants to search up. Get a long look through the deck. The legendary creatures, as far as options are concerned.
He has one Thalia, one Archangel Avacyn, 3 Kalidas, and 1 Eiley, Eternal Pilgrim. So he's not doing the Bruna Gisela thing.
Another Kalidas. Tom will untap here. You see,
Yeah,
we see Tom do this.
My prediction is, at the minimum, the Thalia's Lancers is going to have to chump block, and it's possible the Kalidas will have to chump block as well.
Yep. The way he's able to size these creatures, he's going to plus Gideon. Yep, business time. Yep.
Remember, everything is +1/+1 bigger, so everything's a 5/5 at the minimum right now.
Yep.
So, yeah, the Kalidas has to chump block too. So.
Yeah, this is just, I mean, these things are just too huge. Yeah. And we can't forget, too, if Kalidas blocks a Gideon, which is not the one you want to block, Lifelink's not going to happen.
Yep.
Because the damage is prevented.
Yeah, you want Lancers in front of Gideon and then Kalidas in front of whatever.
Whatever, yeah. I learned that one the hard way.
What was the scale of the event?
SCG Atlanta, round 14, when Jerry was 13-0, and I was playing for top 8. I blocked a Gideon with a Shambling Vent.
That's nice.
Yeah. He let me take it back because he's a nice person. But
and he'd also rather have the story
that's
of letting you take it back.
Because you know Jerry, that's
right.
Obviously what happened, yes. Draw and dead. Tom Ross going to win game number 1 here over Daniel Duan. Green-white aggro able to slog through a Kalidas and move itself up a game here over black-white control. Pretty impressive. So again, this just, you can smell it from here. It's a Brad Nelson deck. This just reeks of Brad Nelson so much of, yeah, I can go long.
Yep.
Totally fine with going long. You got some stuff. We're going to play 10, 11 turns. Let's go long. And Tom was able to work his way through a Kalidas that was on the battlefield for what, 5, 6 turns?
Yep. Planeswalkers, Westvale Abbey.
Yeah.
So a little bit of card drawing. This deck can hang around. A lot of tools in green-white to stick around.
And it's going to stink even more like Brad Nelson in just a second, because we're going to take a look at the sideboards, and we're going to start with Tom's, because he has the ability to convert his deck the way that he wants to, between maybe mid-range or control, even get a little bit more aggressive. 2 Fumigates, 2 Nissa Vital Force, 2 Natural State, 2 Declaration in Stone, 2 Quarantine Field. One of his Tireless Tracker, Fragmentize, Stasis Snare, Linvala Preserver, and Blessed Alliance.
So I think this is a perfect matchup for the Tireless Tracker and the 2 copies of Nissa Vital Force. Just more card drawing, more control over the battlefield. Great stuff for this kind of matchup. I think he wants a little bit of the creature removal, but it's easy to go overboard with that. I think some amount of Stasis Snare, Quarantine Field, Declaration in Stone. I think he wants to be a little bit better against Kalidas. I don't think he wants all those cards, but I think a little of that is called for.
Other side of things here for Daniel. A lot of 2s and 1s. 2 Lost Legacy, 2 Fragmentize, 2 Harsh Scrutiny, 2 Call the Bloodline. One of is an Anguish Unmaking Quarantine Field, Authority of the Council's Ruinous Path, Linvala the Preserver, Campbell, Council of Allocation, and a Painful Truths.
So the Painful Truths, the Ruinous Path, the Quarantine Field, the Anguish Unmaking, a little bit of removal here, especially removal that can go after Planeswalkers. Really important for Duan to be able to control that, as we saw what happened in Game 1 where Gideon went unchecked for too long.
Well, game number 2 going to be underway here in just a moment. Players sideboarding and shuffling up pretty quickly. So while they do that, we'll give us a moment to talk about the StarCityGames.com newsletter. If you're already subscribed, we want to thank you, of course, for that. You saw exactly what Todd Stevens did recommend in his Bant deck that he's trying to make it through day 2 with, a little under the weather, but there's a whole lot more going on in our free newsletter.
A ton of information about the goings-on at Star City Games, with the latest about the SCG Tour, with the selected SCG Tour match of the week, exclusive deck lists and advice from many of your favorite columnists, all the recent event results, an exclusive cardboard crack comic, and best of all, signing up is free over at go.starcitygames.com/newsletter.
Sometimes you might see a Tom Ross in there, might see some other people in there writing some of our sections. So pretty cool stuff going on there, and obviously free to sign up for. Both players taking a look at their opening hands. We'll see if they're happy with their 7s. Daniel is, Tom is. Let's play some Magic here with the Shambling Vent. The boss will play a Canopy Vista. We'll head back over to Daniel. He's got a Forsaken Sanctuary. Classic black-white opening.
They love lands that enter the battlefield tap. They cannot get enough of them.
Tom with the Plains. He's got a play. It's a Copter. Pass that turn back. Over to Daniel we'll go. He'll play a Swamp. Pass the turn back. We'll go to the boss, T. Ross. Plains the draw. Flooding out a little to start it looks like. So interesting about the Copter. It just has like this kind of overarching kind of effect on the game. Like
it does hover, especially in the early turns.
Yeah.
It does inform so much of the decision making on both sides of the table.
It feels like a little sub game that you're playing. It's like, okay, the game right now, here's a 3-man inspector going to make a clue. It's like, all right, the game is now about this. All right, let's suit up. Anguish Unmaking. See you later. Tom's going to play a land, play a Servant. 2 energy, pass the turn back.
Gotta be pretty happy to trade it with an Anguish Unmaking, as that's one of Duan's few spells that can tag Planeswalkers, and also it's something that would have just gotten the Smuggler's Copter anyway.
Here is Gideon. Ross will draw. Actually a pretty good position for Gideon now.
Battlefield's relatively stable.
Yep. Gideon pretty darn good on the play. Don't think much of a surprise there. Another energy. Gearhulkin? I think we're going Gearhulkin. Oh, yeah. Thump. 3 counters here. 1 counter there. Go after Gideon. I think we'll see a block. We do. Be a good spot for Fumigate.
I think my preference there might have been to put a counter on the Gearhulk to get it out of Grasp of Darkness range.
Sure. I could see that.
I guess the logic here is he wants to have 3 eligible attackers against a 2/2 token next turn. So by making the Servant of the Conduit a 3/3, now that's one more thing that can attack in. I don't know, it's close. It's not an easy card to play with. And the Gearhulk is still threatening lethal on the Gideon.
Yep. There's a Knight Ally. Hey, land there's the battlefield tap there in Forsaken Sanctuary, and Daniel will pass the turn back over to Tom. Tom will untap. It's time for a draw step. Tireless Tracker. Pretty darn good one. Against
really good
White.
pickup.
Beatdowns. I have to imagine they're all going towards Gideon, but we will get confirmation. They're all going to Gideon. Gideon down. Follow up. Tracker. Clue. That'll be 2 clues now. Pass that turn back. Any Fumigates to be had? Be a pretty good spot for one.
I feel like black-white control has to try very hard to do a thing that isn't that powerful.
It feels like it in these games.
Like, what happens when you miss your first 4 land, any of your first 5 land drops?
Well, that's the game. Here's Noxious Gearhulk. This one is pretty powerful. We'll take care of the tracker. Tom will draw a card now.
With Tireless Tracker, you just don't have to try hard.
Yeah.
Just play Magic and it works.
That's actually a pretty good way to look at that. You're already going to play lands anyway,
yeah,
right?
I'm already doing that.
Yeah. It's just kind of an added benefit that I'm already doing this thing. Tom going to sacrifice a clue. Beatdowns. Ain't afraid no Gearhulk. Trade with a Gearhulk. Follow up? Gideon. There's a 2/2 Night Ally. Pass the turn back. Looks like Daniel may have just drawn another land. One of those lands is a Gyre Reach Sanitarium. And now here is Linvala. Now that's a good card.
Sure.
And that'll gain 5 life as well. See if she can stabilize some things here. There'll be a 3/3 Angels brought along as well. And pass the turn back. Time to draw for Tom Ross. Tireless Tracker again.
Yep. Why try hard? Just don't have to do that.
That's true. Gideon Emblem. Saw Tom go to this game 1 a little bit early.
It has to do this to be able to make any attack this turn.
Yep. A little chump block perhaps? No, just going to take the 5. Down to 15. Follow up. Tracker. Land. Get a clue. Might play the Advocate. The interesting thing here is, if you want to keep going onto the battlefield, and he'll start by drawing a card to get some more information. Blossoming Defense, he might want to hold back now.
And now it's pretty attractive, I think, to just wait a turn on it. Before Advocate or nothing, I could see just saying Advocate, and if we get swept, whatever, I've still got some cards in hand and Thraben Inspector to rebuild with.
Mm-hmm.
But now that Duan has such an incentive here to try to kill the Tireless Tracker.
And now he can leave a mana open.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
Inspector. Yeah, that's not bad. Again, it kind of keeps feeling it boils down in this particular matchup to Fumigate. Like last game, Fumigate wouldn't have been good enough.
Yep.
This game, Fumigate would be very attractive.
Yeah, but Tom still has some leftovers to work with here, even if he got hit by it. It would be good.
Oh, yeah, well, Green-White doesn't run out of cards. Ruinous Path. Well, any Blossoming Defenses to be had.
Yeah, I think Tom's probably wondering what the follow-up is here because why not go all the way up?
Yeah, why not just Awaken?
Yep.
Sure. All right,
especially with a Shambling Vet in play. I mean,
yeah.
that's pretty attractive.
Declaration in Stone. Don't mind more clues.
Yeah, now Duan kind of needs to turn the game into a damage race because now the card advantage game is kind of sunk.
Yeah, I think if you're Daniel, you got to start attacking in the air.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe with both. I think I like this a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a winning line, but all the plays that have led up to this spot have suggested this is the path he needs to take.
More turns for him right now is bad.
Right.
Just 5. The reason I want to attack with both in that instance is because that 3/3 on defense ain't doing nothing.
Right.
Tom's creatures are way too big. It's just a chump blocker.
I mean, in theory, you can go 8/8/5,
yeah,
and that's lethal. I mean, it's asking for a lot here, given Tom's board and how many resources Duan has to work with. But at least it's a story you can tell yourself.
Yeah, it's an avenue.
It's yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Green-White, you got to get them dead before they get you dead. That was actually true of this matchup last Standard season, and it actually feels more true now.
Yep. I feel like Black-White's position in the matchup has to be hold, kill you.
Yeah.
Pivot and kill you fast, because you would think that the deck with a lot of 6 and 7 mana spells and Sorens and so forth would have the better late game. I don't think that's true.
Yep. it looks better on paper
Yes.
when you look at the cards.
Agreed.
You say, you know, I'll draw Sword, I'll grind him down that way, or Noxious Gearhulk or Linvala, but I mean, look what's unfolding right now. Green and white is relentless, and the Gearhulk is making it even more relentless.
Legacy players, that's time to round. Active player finishes their turn and play 5 additional turns.
Tireless Tracker right now, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 with the ability to become a 7/6 if Tom wants to sacrifice a clue. You got the Knight Ally, that's a 5/5. It's a base 2/2, 2 counters in the Gideon emblem, and then the Servant of the Conduit is also a 5/5. So pretty healthy attack.
And to mention your point before, you know, now you have this angel that's really not attacking, not blocking. Or if it is blocking, it's chump blocking.
Yeah. Might be double chump territory. You might see a double block here.
I think this is a trade, right?
This would be a trade.
5/5.
5/5. Tom will sacrifice a clue, put a counter on the tracker, draw a card. I think he picked up a copy of Smuggler's Copter. That would be a trade. And it is. But Daniel's down to 3. So, Fumigate?
And then beat the clues and the emblem over a long game?
Look, no one said it'd be easy. I'm just saying we got to start somewhere.
Right.
Yeah. Just going to pass, then follow on D along with Shambling Vent. Force the draw here for Ross. Sack a clue, draw a card. Tracker's larger. Canopy Vista, not all that attractive. Play that, though, for the land for the turn. Get another clue. Sack a clue, draw a card. Up to 5 counters. Hiya. Aether Hub. There's an Advocate.
I believe the Advocate being played pre-combat here, so Ross doesn't have to sacrifice any attacker to the Blighted Fed, should that be Duan's line.
That's smart. Here is Shambling Vent. Linvala looks like it's going to jump in front of the Gearhulk. Shambling Vent's going to jump in front of the... Looks like the Knight Ally, and then there might be just a removal spell on the tracker here in just a moment.
A murderer or something.
Yeah. Well, there better be. Stasis Snare, sure.
Bang.
That's good. Linvala will trade with the Gearhulk. Next up, if there is a next up. Daniel looking at 2 cards.
The Smuggler's Copter is not lethal, but the other threats are.
Yep. Shambling Vent is in hand here for Daniel. Just not quite sure what else. Shuffling between 2 cards. We'll find out in a moment. Either it's something or it's nothing. Yeah, that's
the way that works.
That's the easiest way to put it.
Challenge starting in a few minutes. If you'd like to participate in the next standard challenge, come see us at Silence. Excuse me, that's our modern challenge, our 2 o'clock modern challenge. Last call to register.
Having a hard time imagining what these 2 cards could be.
Yeah, me too. All right, Liliana. Minus. Transgress the mind and something else. Return. Something that might be get a Gearhulk back, but yeah, it doesn't. I promise Tom's going to kill you.
I think he'll see this line.
Yeah. He'll draw a card. Another Gear Hulk. That might even make it easier. Yep. Put some counters on some stuff. That'll allow him to turn on the Copter with a creature that has Summoning Sickness. And in just a moment here, we're going to see Tom Ross win this match over Daniel Duan. 2-0. Green and Aggro going to take care of black-white control. And for Ross, it's a 10-2-1 record here in Indianapolis and one step closer to another top 8.
For Duan, probably out of the running now for top 8, but top 16 still in striking distance. And Tom Ross, yep, about a round away from maybe being able to draw in.
Potentially. I mean, this is just, I think, a pretty good case of how this matchup goes.